be getting drunk. I'm gonna be getting my party.
I personally have had 2 friends that were killed by a drunk driver.
As long as they're not letting little kids ride out in the middle of the road, I'm fine, so.
At the end of the night, I'll probably drive.
It's one of the worst experiences of my life.
Danny was thrown out of the car and she died instantly.
I think if people saw a lot of the things that we see on the streets at night and hear the stories and talk to the victims and talk to the families, that's what I think would really paint the picture for people about how tragic DWI can end up being.
So just last night, one of the task force members had a 17-year-old that I believe was double the limit at .16 when he got his breath back. So 17 years old.
You know, you drink one drink and your mind is altered. It affects you, it affects your body, it affects your reaction time. So people that think that 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, they're fine, are crazy. Like, they're not, it's not okay.
I got pulled over because I did not have my lights on, and I was on the corner of Kirby and Shepherd.
Teens know inherently that what they're doing is wrong, illegal, that they're not supposed to be drinking, they're especially not supposed to be driving after they drink.
And that is when the police officer asked me to roll down the window.
You go up to the car and start talking to a teen, and it's right away, it's, oh, I haven't had anything to drink.
And just asked if I had been drinking, and I had said no.
It's real quick to us when we get up to the car, whether somebody in the car's been drinking or not.
Then he asked me to step out of the car, which I did.
So the quick, oh, I haven't had anything to drink. You know, we can smell it as soon as the window's open, start talking to him for just a minute.
And then I was placed in the cop car and arrested and kind of went through that whole process.
I'm not intoxicated. I'm not drunk.
What kind of car do you have?
Huh?
What kind of car do you have?
BMW.
BMW? Is that what you were driving tonight?
I am a bit under the influence. I admit that. I do admit that.
Let go of me! Let go of me, you're hurting me!
You remember what street you were driving on?
You're lucky if all you do is get arrested. And by lucky, I mean because we've had a lot of people that, you know, they drink, they drive, they don't think about it, they drink, they drive, and they end up getting in an accident. They either kill themselves, they'll kill a friend of theirs, like if they've got passengers, or they end up killing or hurting somebody else.
I've had too many cases where I've stopped somebody 16, 17 years old going 50, 60 miles an hour in the middle of the city, not thinking about not just themselves, but the other people that are, you know, there's a lot of foot traffic in the city. And you know, they themselves are not worried about thinking about if they get in a crash at 60 miles an hour in the middle of the city, what's going to happen to them, their car, their passengers in the car. I don't think that ever even comes through their head.
And it took me going to jail to see how lucky I am. To get to the point where I answer every phone call now from my mom or my dad, and always tell them where I am, where I'm going, and that I love them.
Let's say a young person, maybe going to college, maybe wanting to go to college, and they go out and they party a little bit too hard and they get on the road when they shouldn't. And then they're arrested by an officer. While in the big picture, it may be the least of their problems, because the good news is they get to go home and they haven't hurt anybody. But there still can be some really serious consequences, not the least of which is having to spend a night in jail, having to make that phone call to mom and dad, or your girlfriend or boyfriend saying, hey, I'm in jail. That's not a pleasant experience. You'd have to post a bond, then you have to go forward with the DWI case and get a defense attorney. And you miss work to do that, and you have to show up, and it's embarrassing. And all those things really are very small in the bigger sense. But at the point where you're trying to get a job a few years down the road, and now you can't get the job you want, or you're trying to get into a graduate school, and the graduate program says, no, thank you. You made this really terrible decision a number of years ago. We don't think that you're a good bet for our graduate program. Or even some of the professional certifications. Sometimes it's something you're going to be called to answer if you're trying to get a law license or a medical license. There are some really serious long-term consequences that can be there for somebody who does get a DWI and is convicted of it.
Getting rejected upon just looking for employment and it being a never-ending roadblock.
You can't get federal financial aid if you have DWI on your record. So if you're applying for college, you won't be able to get the financial aid to be able to go.
That is a permanent criminal record that stays with them for the rest of their life. A conviction for driving while intoxicated never goes away.
My promising future, college athlete, getting great grades in school. It feels like it's all for nothing right now because I can barely provide for my kids.
I guess I didn't realize before how selfish and ignorant it is, because you're not only jeopardizing your own life, but there's somebody else that could be completely fine and innocent, not have done anything, and because you made a stupid decision, you could potentially ruin another person's life.
A lot of kids are like, oh, well, you drink, you drive. Maybe you'll get in a little fender bender, but it won't be any big of a deal. You'll pay a little bit of money. It's whatever. They don't realize that you can really kill people and hurt yourself, hurt other people, hurt people you don't even know. Or you could hurt somebody that your best friend. You could do a lot of things that are just really, really, really bad. And it would be with you for the rest of your life.
I had everything in my world, and I had amazing parents and family, and I had my whole life in front of me, and Danny had her whole life ahead of her. She was like smart and amazing and the center of everyone's world. Like, everyone loved her. And so I took her promising future and all the opportunities that she was gonna have away from her and for me, and just I didn't even start to see the light at the end of the tunnel until I had my kids, because I just wanted to, after everything happened, I wanted to make it go away, and I didn't want to be here anymore.
You might kill your friends or kill yourself, an innocent person.
I'm not glad for what happened, but I'm extremely blessed in the sense that nobody else got hurt. I didn't have my lights on, but it really was a wake up in the sense that there's so many, it's just such a selfish act.
Most people know the real effects and the consequences for drinking and driving, but they only know the consequences for the price that you pay. Say you have to pay money for probation or pay for fixing a car or fixing something like that, but you can't fix someone's heart if you kill their daughter or kill their son, or just even if you didn't know them, that's still someone's son or daughter or brother or sister.
The depth of pain is just truly unimaginable, and it's very, very hard to see and to know that there's no real comfort for them. It's a pain that they will always have. And some of the most memorable moments have been, or statements have come from parents talking about the loss of their child. There was a mom who I think explained it extremely poignantly in saying, I didn't just lose my 26-year-old daughter. I lost my daughter every step of the way. I lost the toddler. I lost the kid who was going to kindergarten for the first day. I lost the kid who was graduating from high school. And every single step, and I think it's a very accurate description of the type of pain that a parent goes through when they get that phone call in the middle of the night and realize what's happened. We had another father who explained why it was important to him that he actually be a pallbearer at his daughter's funeral. And his explanation was, I never got a chance to walk her down the aisle. So this was his way of walking his daughter down the aisle. And to imagine what a father has to think about with that is just very difficult.
They need to just ball up and learn how to call someone or call your mom, even though she might be mad at you at that moment or something like that. She's going to be glad that you called, because she's not going to get a call from a police officer saying that your son is dead from drinking and driving.
But I would just hope that if they make that decision to have a drink, that driving is never on their mind at all.
Use common sense. Be smart. You know, I mean, we want kids to see this, and we want kids to pay attention to it, and we don't want the message to be, you're a bunch of bad kids and we have to correct everything you're doing, because that's not the message.
You're gonna eventually get caught, whether it's your first, your third, your 5,000th time. You'll eventually get caught. And hopefully it'll be for something like driving with your lights off, rather than having killed a stranger or your best friend.
Like, just think about one person and that's in your life, and then think about them not being in your life because of what you did and your actions, your terrible decisions and your recklessness. And then think about that person not being in this world and everybody it affects. Because one person out of this world might not sound like a lot, but that one person is somebody's whole world. Like, my kids are my whole world. Danny's mom, Danny was her whole world, and I took her whole world away from her. So think about who you're taking away from the world when you drink and drive.